What habits do your parents have that drive you insane? Mom, one of those people that like and share a picture because they think it'll help kids in Africa. Dad, types with one finger so when he uses the computer, you hear a constant tapping for 20 minutes straight. My mom doesn't pay attention to movies, then quizzes people about the plot points she missed. Who is that guy? What's happening now? Where did they get the car? Is the girl still alive? Just watch the movie, Mom. Saying the same thing 10 times in 2 minutes bt slightly changing the sentence structure so they are elaborating. Similarly, my parents will just repeat what they are saying in a slightly different way, acting as though they are somehow expanding on the original idea. I love my dad more than anything, but he has this habit of calling me repeatedly just to tell me something important. For example, I'll be at work, notice 9 missed calls from him, freak out, call him back, only for him to tell me that he was talking to someone in Greece on his ham radio. If I call him, he won't answer. Talking to someone in Greece on his ham radio. That's the most dad thing I've ever heard. My mom is losing her hearing, but she's in denial. She cranks all volumes. When we're in public, or if I bring her for a walk around the neighborhood, she talks about people their houses at full volume. And, of course, any question gets a first answer of what? Hey mom, did dad go to sleep? What? I said. Audible sigh of frustration from dad's room. Never mind. When they sleep, I'm ninja quiet. When I sleep, vacuum. Phone call, loud TV, loud talking, demolishing part of the house, fire sirens going off etc. They micromanage everything. I can't wash dishes with them in the room. Being intentionally technologically ignorant. I don't care if you grew up without computers. Get a goddamn computer so I don't have to fax you every time I want to send you a picture. Then it just gets worse. They get a disease-riddled sus laptop, and you have to play whack-a-mole with the never-ending extensions that cling onto their browser, while they blame you for the pop-ups. Walking nude around the house. My dad has an extremely short temper that I've picked up. It's like a never-ending circle of irritation. He'll get annoyed over nothing, then I'll get annoyed at him, and then I'll get annoyed at myself for being annoyed so easily etc. They are control freaks. Dad, you aren't even watching the television. Please give me the remote control over my dead body, you son of a b. My parents would carry out a war of silence that put everyone in the house on edge. I hated it. Read that as war of science. That wouldn't be too bad. Whenever I call them and forget to mention something and attempt to call them back 2 seconds later, yeah, they never freaking answer that second call. Dad says Google that crap all the freaking time. Mom has no idea what to use technology for. She has a smartphone and only recently started texting, which is massively frustrating because she's a renowned scientist working with the Defense Department and is one of the top world leaders in her respective field, and her research team that she leads regularly wins awards. She can use all the cutting edge technology and computer software she needs, but if I ask her to Google something on her phone, she looks at me like I'm a crazy person. Academics. I went to a talk by a Nobel laureate last year and him and 3 professors spent half an hour trying to get the projector to work until the tech guy showed up and hit one button to make it work. When you're that smart, you don't need to know how the world actually works, only how your experiments work. P. Whenever my mom's comes to visit, she will look through my drawers, closets, basically everywhere. After she's done looking for whatever the frick she's looking for, she will go to the kitchen, complain about dishes piled up, even if there is only a spoon in the sink, then proceed to doing the dishes, all the while complaining. I'm 29 years old and moved out of my parents' house over 10 years ago. You should have a friend hide in your closet when your mom's coming over. Scare the crap out of her while she's doing her snooping. If it doesn't make her stop, it'll at least be good for a petty laugh. My dad is a channel flipper, simultaneously watches 2 shows and 2 sporting events at a time, even when we all sit down to just watch one show. My dad does this and it irritates the crap out of me. When a commercial break comes on, he'll go to the other show. Then he won't flip back until they go to commercial by which point we've missed several minutes of the first show. Commercials come. He flips back and we've missed several minutes of that show. It makes it impossible to follow either of them. 2 words. Eating noises. My mom went through a phase where she would rub all her teeth after eating with her finger. Like, imagine a less scrubby version of brushing your teeth, but with a finger instead of a toothbrush. She got offended that it made me gag. My father makes a very strange sound every time he eats. It almost sounds like he's loudly slurping soup, but I hear it when he eats anything. I noticed it one day when we were at White Castle together. I took a pickle off of my burger and he asked me if he can have it. After he ate what I already think is a disgusting food accompanied with such a disgusting sound, I decided I can never eat White Castle again, a promise I kept for about 3 years until last night when I suddenly craved it. Dang their marketing. Then one day he was eating yogurt and I noticed he made the same sound. I went and sat down next to him to observe it, perhaps get to the bottom of this anomaly and offer a solution to a problem he didn't know existed. I thought he was taking in excess air every time he took a bite, but that wasn't the case. I quickly had to leave the room fearful I'd never be able to eat yogurt again without thinking of that sound. Now I hear it at every meal with him. Whether he's eating soup, yogurt, an apple, a burger, steak. What the frick is happening? I can't eat in his vicinity. I guess I have to move out now. I'm 25 anyway. It's been a long time coming. My old roommate made the sound that I can only describe as snoring while eating. I couldn't eat around him. It was so gross. My dad has a habit of speaking his mind very loudly in public. I don't know what it is. Senility, or wanting to have his opinion heard, whatever. We'll be in line at a subway or something and he'll start trying to have a conversation about how many black people there are or how dirty the staff look. My mother brushes her teeth, sticks the toothbrush almost down her throat, chokes herself and starts coughing and spluttering like she's going to vomit everywhere, every single time. Just because no one else has mentioned this, she's brushing her tongue all the way to the back because that's where the bulk bad breath causing bacteria dwell. My mom is always trying to find a way, like, you have to pay for therapy on the 15th of May. She's all like, yes honey, but can't you talk to her so we pay on the 20th of May? No mom, you know we have to pay every 15th day of the month from the start. Why is IT so hard to follow rules? My mom is the worst backseat driver, and a terrible regular driver. Ugh, just thinking about it makes me angry. My dad wakes up every morning and literally rails C until he almost pukes, orders puke, and drinks literally 50 beers any given night. He is trying to get on disability by giving himself diabetes so he doesn't have to work, because he knows he's borderline diabetic. He tried to tell me smoking pot and not believing in God was worse than what he was up to. Haha, yee, good talk. You can't get on disability in America just because you have diabetes. My husband is a type 2 insulin dependent diabetic and works over 40 hours a week. Another guy I know is a type 1 with a pump and has other medical problems as well and still works at the local grocer stocking food. Sometimes my mum wear my clothes because they are comfortable. 17M here. My dad does this, and when he takes her t-shirt off he grabs it by the throat and stretches the frick out of it. All of his t-shirts are sleeve-of wizard, and when I catch him in one of mine I get pee. Both of my parents be about something the other does, when they do the exact same goddamn thing themselves. For instance, my mom always makes fun of my dad for falling asleep on the couch and snoring, and she be non-stop about it. Then, not 10 minutes after her comment she's knocked out cold and snoring louder than him. OMFG, my mom does this exact same thing. She'll snap her fingers or make this annoying, high-pitched whoop noise to wake up my dad. Then, lo and behold, 5 minutes later she's snoring away. She also be about my dad farting or forgetting things. Those both pee me off about my dad too, but her farts are even more disgusting and she doesn't realize she's beginning to forget things as well. Smoking. Everyone in my family smokes except me and I bet I'll be the one to die of cancer. Starting conversations with me only when I'm leaving the room. Or when they call you back from all the way on the main floor just as you're about to sit down in your room on the other side of the house when you were just over there. Twice. My dad has a very successful business and has made enough to send 4 kids to college and is about to build his own house. And he still buys 1-ply toilet paper. It's his burning butthole that drives him to succeed. My dad whistles all the time. Like he'll be running up or down the stairs whistling and all you can do is look in the general direction he's in and wonder what kind of a madman did I derive half my DNA from? Is this how the children of serial killers feel? ETA. He is also an animal thrower. As in if you're asleep and he is assigned to wake you up for something, he grabs one of the family pets and throws it on you. The pet is dropped on you from maybe a foot or two above you, so it's fine for the pet in question. When it was the 12-pound cat, it was a total dong move. Now that I have a 40-pound dog, fricked up. Dad. Fricked up. My mom always has to be the last person to say something so that the conversation will continue with her in it. For example, if someone, say, me, asks my sister a question, maybe about school, and my sister answers, I'm having issues with a friend, mom will say something immediately afterwards like, oh, she's having problems with a friend. WTF mom, she just said that. That bothers me just thinking about it. Growing old, I want them to stay the same. Oh, I understand you. My parents had me when they were in their 50s and it's hard to watch them getting older every day. They'll wait until they've been driving for about 2 minutes before putting their seatbelts on. We'll literally reach the top of the street before they put it on. When I'm driving, I refuse to move until everyone is strapped in. Just put that crap on before you start driving and be safe. I know so many people that do this and it drives me nuts. Now we are moving and they are blindly grabbing, turning around, trying to find the belt. I don't even start the engine until it is on, and I was born before there were laws about it. My mom will use the bathroom with the door open and initiate conversation. I'm always like, do you have no shame, woman? My parents both think it's totally cool to walk up and start talking to me through the door while I'm trying to use the toilet. She refuses to let me set the proper aspect ratio on her television. It doesn't matter that the picture is stretched out. She paid a lot of money for that widescreen television, so she should be able to use all of it. And she says the black bars on the sides of the screen are distracting. My mom is very overprotective. One of her rules is that I'm not allowed to stand next to a microwave because it might explode. I have an above the range microwave. I put something in the microwave and while I was waiting for it to cook, I started cleaning the stovetop. The microwave must have built up pressure, because with time left on the timer, the door flew open. It hit me in the head and knocked me to the ground. My dad has his phone on all time. The screen. He walks into my room to say goodnight to me. The screen is visible through his pants. Sometimes we, phone people, forget to put the settings back right when switching over contacts to a new phone. It requires the screen to be on stay awake mode. Edit. Smartphones. My dad always puts bread and tortillas on top of the microwave, then complains when it has mold just a few days after purchasing it. Instead of listening to me, he be that it's Walmart's fault for selling him expired food. No dad, it's because you put a bag of bread over the hot microwave which ends up creating moisture in the bag and that moisture causes fungus to grow. I dunno. I've had a loaf of bread on the microwave since September and there's no mold on it yet. I'm just keeping it now to see how long it takes. Trying to force their worldviews on me. Everyone does it whether they know it or not. When my mom is sending a text, she whispers every word she types. It drives me insane. And yet their entire text is in capitals. My mom believes everything. Told me the other day that drinking water that boiled eggs can cure headaches. Using the guise of spiritualism to justify their complete abandonment of any personal responsibility to the family. But spending time with us is still the most important thing in the world. Whenever my mom uses paper towels to dry her hands, she never throws them away. She leaves them on the counter to air dry and then she'll reuse them to wipe the mirror or mop the floor or something. She insists it's wasteful to just wipe your clean hands dry and throw the towel away. Might as well repurpose it. Which is fine, I guess, but she is always washing her hands and she never wipes stuff up fast enough to use them all up, so we end up with a mountain of used paper towels crowding every sink counter. As a kid I was punished if I threw them away. She'd reuse the towels until they disintegrated. When I moved, she literally gave me 4 plastic bags filled with used paper towels to clean my apartment with. After she visited me last week, I was wondering why there was so much trash, and I realized it's because she left a trail of bounty in every room she walked through. I opened my linen closet and there was a plastic bag of paper towels smashed into the corner. My parents chew with their mouths open. To make matters worse, my dad has dentures and my mom has a very weird chewing pattern. She always has to sip her tea very loudly as well. My mom also watches CNN most times of the day and talks about how America is going to have a revolution almost daily. Finally, my mom has a weird martyr syndrome going on, in which she tries to subtly sabotage herself and then goes to her friends complaining about how life is so hard for her. For example, all us kids are grown and we manage ourselves. The house is an easy house to take care of. My mom hasn't had a paying job in over 30 years and my dad takes care of her. Her only true responsibility is preparing for the Sunday school class she teaches every week. She will stay up to 1 AM watching CNN or Juice TV. Purposely wakes up about 6 AM for no reason in particular, then goes crying to her friends about how tired she always is. One time my dad let her sleep in until 8 AM because of her tired complaining, and she started yelling at him for letting her sleep in. If you got to know my mom, you would see she is an overall very spoiled woman with few actual problems. She likes to create her own drama at times. To try initiate conversation, my mom asks the most irrelevant and random topics. Yesterday, out of the blue, she asked me what I know of dialysis. Like WTF. I have heard every one of my dad's jokes multiple times, and every time he learns a new one, he calls everyone he knows and tells them the joke. I overhear many of these phone calls. Insane cleanliness. They even have cabinets that they keep their daily cup in. They will drink water, rinse it out, and then hit the glass again. There is nothing out of place anywhere. My dad has gone out with me while I'm having a smoke and pick up a single leaf on the drive. It is like that at my grandparents'. My grandma and grandpa have a specific water glass they use. Parents of Reddit, what is something your kid doesn't know you know about them? I'm pretty sure my mum thinks she knows I'm gay, but I'm not, at all. She thinks she knows and that I don't think she thinks that, if that makes any sense. I get it. She thinks you might be gay and also thinks that you have no idea that she thinks you're gay. You know she thinks you're gay and you also know that she thinks that you don't think she knows you're gay. It only makes it better that you're not gay. My mom could always tell when I had to poop. No clue what my giveaways were. I'm 27 about to be 28. And to this day she will be visiting at my house and out of nowhere she's just like, you need to poop. And she's always right. Probably a certain facial expression she learned to recognize when you were a baby that you just didn't grow out of. I know when she's trying to get a lie past me. Girl is a carbon copy of myself. All her tricks are my tricks. Her brain works pretty similar to mine. I did most of that stuff when I was her age and spend most my time going, I remember trying that one and dear god I sound like my mother. I work with a group of boys. One is 12 years old and is a smart aleck. I know that he currently sucks his thumb when he sleeps. Next time you see him sleep while he suck his finger, pull it out and put one of those big cucumbers in his mouth. That he has a crush on the neighbor girl. Mom, shut up. No, I don't. I'm 28 but my dad, if he's buying me clothes for Christmas or a birthday, always gets my size perfectly. I don't keep him updated on my measurements by any means, but he always gets me perfectly fitted clothing and I don't know how he does it. For some reason my dad gets me clothes that are always 1 or 2 sizes too big. I don't grow that fast, Dad. My son is only 4. I know everything because I stay home with him all day every day. I know when he's being sneaky. He thinks I don't realize he's sneaking his toys into bed with him. Not to play with and stay up late, but because he believes his happy toys give him happy dreams. I can tell from how tight his morning hug is whether those dreams were happy or sad. He thinks I don't notice when he sneaks a cucumber from the fridge and hides it under his shirt, sneaking bites through his collar and giggling as he hides under the table. I'm his mom, and right now I know him better than anyone else in the world and he has no idea just how much I watch him and imprint all of these adorable characteristics in my memories because one day he'll be ready to move out and I won't be the one who knows. him best anymore, and he has no idea how terrified I am at how fast that day is coming. What he does know is how much I love him, and how proud I am of every single new thing he learns and every step towards independence he takes. He knows that mama can always be counted on for a cuddle after a scary dream, or a game of Candyland on a rainy day. Holy frick, I haven't teared up like this in probably a year. I'm a 20-year-old male, why is this making me so emotional? That was moving. I know when he's tired. My wife recently had that conversation with one of our kids. I'm angry and I don't know why. You're tired? No. I know that when he says about a girl she's crazy, it means that he really likes her, even if he'll forever deny it. He's 6. We do that at 27, 36, and 45, too, to be fair. I know he shoots the bed every night. I clean it while he sleeps through it, so I don't know if he knows. Can't wait for him to turn 1. They had his in the first half, not gonna lie, was weirded UOT until the last few words. I am 17 and I think my parents think I am addicted to drugs when in reality I get 5 hours of sleep at night and spend all my time watching movies and playing video games. I'm pretty sure that it's parent law to think your kids are in drugs when in reality all they do is play video games or something else that probably should be done a little less frequently. My 20 years younger little brother hides my old toy trains under his bed. No idea why he tries to hide them. Also, he likes to listen to BB Blocksberg secretly. Hex. That's adorable. Sadly, he probably thinks people would judge him for girly things like BB. I know she likes other women but thinks since I'm her old fart, 50s, that I won't accept her for that. I'm fine with it, but I am a dad and as such must cast unending date my daughter at risk of life dad jokes. I'm sure someday she will tell me in some dramatic private talk with tears and I will just snort and say, yay girl, knew that since you was 10, and then crack a very inappropriate joke about her girlfriend, because I'm still dad. Hi dad, I am gay. Hi gay, I am dad. I love reading threads like these. Reminds me of all the cringy stuff I did as a teenager, and deep down inside, I know my parents know. My mom knew when I thought I was being sneaky smoking weed. Trick is to let them get away with stuff like that so they don't get away with big stuff. I know when he poops his pants and tells me he didn't. This hit home, because my dad has dementia and this really isn't a conversation I was expecting to be having. But I guess turnabout is fair play. That he secretly wants to be a furry. I don't really know what that entails, but from what people have told me it doesn't seem to be a positive thing. My son has had a thing for stuffed animals, plushies, blankets since he was like 2. It might not be a fetish thing. I also had a lot of stuffed animals when I was around 12-13 and still own them, but don't buy them. I know for a fact that I'm not attracted to furries, though. I'm 17. I'm pretty sure my parents know a lot about me that I might not even know myself. At that age, my mom knew I had a crush on someone. I wasn't yet fully aware of what my feelings were. Her PSN profile is linked to her email, which is part of my Gmail account, so I see not only her emails, but all the weird crap she tries on Fortnite, mostly purchases for $0. She's 10. I may keep it like this until she's 40. I hope you don't and she notice ASAP the importance of privacy. She's 2Y5M. I learned her fake cry immediately, haha. She's what? Okay, I am actually the kid in this area, but I'm pretty sure my mom knows who I am crushing on. I don't know whether I should be scared or relieved. One of my 2 angels named one of their devices Titty and then connected it to our home Wi-Fi. I blocked access. Now I wait for the little crap to come to me. I know why you take such long showers. Dad does too. I know that you actually really like Ryan and probably Helena, even though you say girls are gross and you say you hate kisses. I know that you're actually brilliant, despite your learning disability. There you go. One for each of them. Hey, long showers don't usually mean what I might think they do. I used to take long showers all the time, and my mother called me out on it, thinking I was being nasty, when really I was just relaxing in the warm water. My mum hid that she smoked since before I was born until she became comfortable with the fact I smoked baccy and weed. I tried to cover the ciggy stink even at a legal age, but once she found my bong and was cool, I just don't smoke in her presence out of respect and not stinking the house out. I'm the kid in this situation, but my mom can always tell when I am stressed. I don't know how, but she always does it. I am a mom who can always tell when my son is stressed, even when he argues about it. Moms just know. Nice try, mom. Not a parent, but I know that my 10-year-old sister starting to discover herself, that's the only way I know how to put it. I know this cause I saw the search history on her phone. I haven't said anything to her yet as I just found the search history a couple days ago. And my mom isn't really the kind of mom that will talk to her about it in a way she will understand. I don't really know how to talk to her about it. My parents once thought I was taking drugs when I was younger, 11 or 12, cause I hid some baby broccoli on a napkin under my bed one time, cause I hate broccoli so much, and forgot it was there, till my mum found it many months later. It looked very shriveled up and gross. Never taken a drug in my life, besides medicine obviously. I'm not a parent, but I'm pretty sure my parents know I wank in the shower. Yama knows you wank. Yama wanks sometimes too. Sometimes Yama wanks yada. But what they don't know is sometimes you wank thinking about Yama wanking yada. Frick the above comment. This is the real. Yes officer, this is it right here. Well, I'm 19 and my parents know I do drugs because I showed them my weed and other crap on Christmas Day. That she hides Cheerios behind the couch. I'm on to you, baby. I know he's screwing around right now instead of getting ready for school. Not the parent in this situation, but whenever I take long showers, a good portion of it is spent just laying in the bathroom outside the shower, masturbating. I keep the water running loudly so any little sounds won't be as obvious to anyone nearby. Honestly, even if they're suspicious, the private atmosphere I create in that bathroom is wonderful. The tight spaces I can use to twist my body in whatever way necessary to pleasure myself. The comfort of the towel I'll lay on or the tiny pillow I make with my clothes. The delightful splashing of a good climax upon myself. The solace I take in knowing that all the dirt and fluids which I have amassed will be showered away. And, of course, the sound of the rushing shower water which almost lulls me into a deep slumber. I love the feeling of immersing myself in there and indulging in self-pleasure. I can act primitive. I'd consider myself pretty wholesome when it comes to sources of joy, but those times I spend before showering are blissfully animalistic and free. So, maybe a parent or sibling or whoever thinks, I know he's masturbating, and, if you do, that's okay, because, when I'm in that bathroom, as far as I can tell, nobody knows. Buddy, they do know, they just aren't going to say anything. This is going down in Reddit history as the most wholesome thread ever. My mum knew I was gay before I did. The pictures kinda prove her point though. How to get into their phones. I don't do it, but it's nice to know I can. You freaking terrify me just saying. I'm 20 years old and just because I hang out with guys I'm the only female in the friend group along with me being tomboyish and collecting weapons. My parents, especially my mother, think I'm in a gang fighting people for money. She doesn't know that I have a job so she thinks all my money is coming from nowhere. None of that crap is true. Lol. I have seen my son telling his hamster he loves him on more than one occasion. I don't want to embarrass him and I think it's sweet. My parents thought I was gay for a while after I broke up with my GF at the time and didn't really give a reason to them other than I didn't really want to be with her anymore. Really it's cause she was cray cray and I developed feelings for my best friend who helped me get through some depression and not great thoughts about life and my ex's craziness before I realized it wasn't gonna stop. Took them a year to realize my ex was actually crazy. My mom's exact words were, I had no idea she was a crazy bee. I just thought you were gay and being an butthole to her. They tried to make us hang out after we broke up so we could be friends. despite my protest. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure she's gone back to thinking I'm gay thanks to me taking way too long to get over my best friend after the feelings weren't reciprocated and me being in college by the time I fully got over her. I haven't been in a relationship in about 5 years. She's jokingly saying I should marry one of her close friends' kids, who I'm also pretty close with, but all the girls are gay. So basically saying I should date the one gay guy, which is a massive no considering I am incredibly straight, have never felt any attraction to a guy, while having been head over heels in love with a girl on multiple occasions. Parents who regretted having kids, what do you wish you had known before? Let me just ask them. One sec. Amazing first comment. They may not be proud of you, but I am. My mother made it clear to my sister and I that she hadn't wanted us. That I was a product of my dad's unrelenting badgering and that my sister had been an oops. She wasn't a good mom. At all. She screamed about everything. You never knew what would set her off. My parents divorced and we went on to be raised by my stepmom. Not without her faults, but Jesus, and this woman didn't technically want us either. She hadn't chosen to get pregnant with us, but she treated us just like her own. She planned and paid for, with my dad, my wedding. Things got better and my real mom is a good grandma now, but let me tell you, hearing you're not wanted as a child, even in passing, even as a joke, can shape someone's entire life and self-worth. If this is your parents, don't you dare ever say it where they can hear you. Throw away for obvious reasons. I always knew from a young age that I didn't want children. My family is all very strict Catholic Hispanics and basically picked who I was going to marry from a young age. Fortunately, I liked the guy, so we did end up married at 19. I was very honest about not wanting kids. He was okay with that. Our families were not. I ended up pregnant even though I was taking birth control. More on that in a minute. Didn't notice the missed periods because the type of birth control I took let you skip periods. By the time I knew I was pregnant, I was 5 months along, which is too late for an abortion. Had the baby. Found out while in the hospital I ended up pregnant because our families ordered fake birth control online and replaced my pills with the fakes. Needless to say, my husband and I were P. I also had horrific postpartum depression but did the best I could. My husband took up drinking heavily to deal with the stress, and over day he just never came home. Haven't heard from him since. The baby was still an infant at that point, 4 months, and I made the decision to put her up for adoption and move away. Everyone says it's different when it's your own kid. Everyone says the first time you hold your baby you have an instant bond. Everyone says it's the most amazing, important thing a woman will ever do. None of that was true for me. I'm in my mid-30s now and my daughter and her family made contact with me about 7 years ago. We talk regularly and I go visit for her birthday and some holidays. She knows the whole story, and while I'm sure she doesn't really understand, she's only 13, she at least gets it a little. If you know you don't want children, and have never wanted children, don't listen to people who tell you that you're wrong and will change your mind. I'm trying to get my tubes tied to make sure it never happens again, but haven't had luck finding a doctor who's willing to, since I'm unmarried and under 40. Filed for divorce years ago, and since nobody could find him it went through the same way it does for a missing person. We really need to stop acting like women don't understand their own bodies and wants. Whoa, I'm P on your behalf, comma. This freaking dilemma destroyed my relationship with what I considered to be the one. She wanted kids, I didn't. I decided to break up with her. It's better than regretting having kids, but the last time I felt genuinely happy was 3 years ago, and that also sucks a lot. Don't have kids when you struggle with mental illness. I upvoted this because my depression is one of the main reasons I choose to not have them. I don't think I can handle the stress while going through non-functioning times, nor would I want them to inherit the gene. That I'd be up at 3:30 AM and then 5 AM every night because he wants to play. My only regret about having kids is that I wasn't mature enough to handle that type of responsibility. When my first came, I was determined that I can handle whatever comes our way. I was wrong. I was selfish and stressed my wife out a lot. I didn't want to spend any time with anyone else besides myself and became an alcoholic. I was really sad all the time and was feeling a lot of negative emotions about my social group, my plans for the future. Everything seemed to be out of reach. My wife and I argued a lot, but always worked things out for the sake that neither of us wanted our children in a separated family. When the second one came, I had stopped drinking as much and spent a lot of time working and saving money. I missed a lot of the milestones for both my children. It made me feel like I was alone, and I felt like a terrible father and felt a distance growing in my relationship with my wife. At some points I deeply resented the three of them, and I thought about leaving on more than one occasion for various situations we were in. I eventually hit a point where I felt my soul being crushed, and I figured, it's fine, whatever, I can be miserable as long as they're happy, and I stayed that way for a good 2 years. Gradually I started to bond with my kids again, and just stuck around for them. Then I started bonding with my wife again. Now our family is functioning on all fronts. It took 6 years for me to grow up and become a better father and husband. I regret that it took so long, and feel ashamed of how I screwed up at the beginning. My first doesn't like me as much as my second, and my relationship with my wife is nothing like it was before having kids. I wish I had known how kids not only change your perspective, they also change your future and the relationships you have with others. If you try to fight it, you will lose in one way or another. Selfishness is a quality which only makes parenting harder than it has to be. Sometimes my husband regretted it. He felt like he lost me in the process, as our baby took up all of my and his time and energy. Our baby is now a toddler, and they've bonded. He sees the benefits now, but if you would have asked him a year ago, he would have told you it feels like a life sentence. If anyone out there feels like they aren't wanted in a wholesome way, I'll totally be your addict mom. I wish I had known that every time I looked at my son when he was born, it would make me sick. BC he's a baby born from debauchery. I couldn't bond with him at all, not till he was at least 2-3 years old. That my crap ex was going to bail and leave me hating myself and him. That sucks. I hope that it doesn't affect your relationship with your child. For anyone now childless and is on the fence about having kids, if you have doubts, having kids is not for you. I have 3 kids. I've always wanted kids. I love my kids dearly and wouldn't change a thing. But they are a frick ton of work and as exhausting as you could ever imagine. Parenting sucks the life out of you, but it's also amazing and rewarding. You should only have them if you know for certain that you really want them. To add to this, I read this line somewhere, I don't recall where else I'd give credit. Fearing that you'll later regret not having kids is not the same as wanting kids. I don't regret having them, but I'm not as great at being a mum as I thought I would be. My kids are still every bit as huge assholes as all other kids, and I do all the lazy bad parenting things I swore I wouldn't do. I think I just wished I had been more realistic so I didn't feel like such a letdown. That not having to wake up 5 times a night because of your baby is much better than fricking without a condom, and that uni is much more expensive than a condom. Uni is much more expensive than a condom. Depends on the country tbh. I bought a pack of condoms for £6 last week, and my degree cost £0. I don't regret it, but if I'd known what I know now, I may not have done it. I wish I'd know that it's never over. You get through the hard preschool years, the hard teenage years, and then spend the rest of your life being anxious and sad and worried about the choices your grown children make and whether or not to bail them out this time. It doesn't end that way for everyone, but it happens and I'd never even thought about the possibility. This is my parents with me. I mean Christ, I love that they love and care for me so much, but holy crap, I will never put myself through that kind of stress. Dear God. People that do not regret having kids, but the Stockholm Syndrome is strong. Also, it's socially forbidden to admit you regret having kids. It's like being American and not participating in the Pledge of Allegiance. People immediately think you're a horrible person. Everything about babies and children and pregnancy. Last time I was near an infant I was 5 years old and it was my baby brother. Also, other women don't warn you for crap. The whole time I was pregnant they would just congratulate me and tell me how excited, happy, and fulfilled I must be. Parenthood sucks. There's no you anymore. Only mommy or daddy. You have an identity crisis because you literally lose yourself in taking care of the child and responsibilities. 3 years later I'm still struggling with postpartum depression. It's not like how they explain it on the internet. Give it time for the hormones to regulate. Number. My father-in-law is like 46 and he knocked up a 29-year-old. She just stopped taking birth control and didn't tell him. She got pregnant again and they aren't married. They have been together for like 5 years. He's so fake happy it hurts. You can see him dying inside every day. The chick he's with is beyond immature and spends money like it's growing on trees. So yeah, having children with the wrong person sucks. Having children with the right person is amazing. I have a son who's 6 now and my wife and I decide one and done. I got snipped to make sure it never happens again. My father-in-law is too scared to get snipped. Lol. For me, I was told so many times that being a parent is so rewarding and fulfilling, but it isn't. Don't get me wrong. I love my kids but my entire life is packed with stress and misery at their antics. They do not respect me and aren't afraid of my attempt at discipline. Striking people is not a catch-all solution. I feel awful saying I regret my kids. They're here and teens now. It's pure selfishness on my part. Now that they're nearly 17 and 15, I find myself super scared about their safety and future and the stress is hard on me. I worry about them driving. I worry about them dating, going off to college, living independently, etc. I just don't want them to be in danger or get hurt and the worry is weighing heavily on me. Not a parent. Will never be a parent. Here's advice from a seriously unwanted child. Don't have kids if you want unconditional love. A kid can't love you like an adult can. A kid can't be your therapist, spouse replacement, or best friend. Get friends your own age. Don't have kids because that's just what's expected of you. You will resent them. They'll feel it. You'll hate them. They'll bail when they can and never look back. Trust me on this. Don't have kids until you're 100% prepared to accept a disabled kid, an LGBT kid, a kid that will date and marry outside of their race, and a kid that won't be your religion. If you can't handle any of that, you aren't mature enough for a kid. Kids aren't dogs. They're individual humans. You can try and beat their individuality out of them if you really want to, but once they can get free, be prepared to spend your late adulthood alone, wondering what went wrong. Again, trust me on this. Everything gets harder once you have a child. Finances, work-life balance, mental health. Parenthood is thankless and difficult and often miserable and isolating. I'll never have kids because I'm not 100% on board with having kids. I love kids, but I recognize that parenthood isn't for me. Think hard before you make the choice. My son is a narcissistic sociopath. I can't change that. I couldn't raise him any differently to prevent it. You cannot control personality traits, especially if the person does not want to change or acknowledge that there is a problem. The amount of hurt and embarrassment I have shouldered to his manipulative nature has broken me as a human. He is no longer allowed in my home and we cannot have a relationship. If I understood completely that this could happen, I would not have had kids. If you have anxiety and or depression, there's a very good chance your child will too. And if you think your depression and anxiety sucks, imagine how helpless and crappy you feel watching your child suffer. Wish someone would have said this to me. I have ADHD and Tourette's while my son has anxiety and depression. Our kids are fricked from the start. The amount of anxiety they give me every dang day, and what a failure you will feel like no matter how hard you try. Oh, and also how much I have to drink to make it back to my fun pre-kid self. You aren't a failure, and you don't have to drink. This will sound easier said than done, but try having fun in different ways. Redefine what you think fun is. I know it may be hard, but it will be worth it. Please people, know the person you want to have children with, especially young people. When you are young, you don't think of it when your boyfriend might have mental emotional problems that their parents did nothing about because they didn't believe in it and wanted their son, the boyfriend, to think of himself as normal. Yes, I get that, but they didn't think years down the line, when their son was trying to be normal, and me, 21 years old after one divorce already, my child stolen from me. I was an emotional wreck. I didn't realize his problems because he hid them well because of coping with them without help that his parents wouldn't get for him. I was too young and messed up to realize my boyfriend's problems and had a child with him. Now, this child is 30 years old and has always had his problems. The mental health care system in USA is a joke. I took her to many psychologists, psychiatrists, counselors, therapists, had levels done, and none of it helped. Now, this 30 years old child of mine has an 8-year-old child who has her problems, plus his father's problems. My 30 years old child with mental emotional problems wasn't intelligent enough to realize her child would be like her boyfriend. Now I am stuck with raising her child, who has double the problems. Me and my husband are horribly struggling with him, because she's not emotionally mentally intelligent enough to raise him. When it came time to really decide about having kids, I had a revelation. I could more easily live with the regret of not having them than I could for having them. I can only imagine what I would be posting here right now if I had caved to the very real peer pressure and had kids. I do wish people with kids, my old friends namely, were not so uncomfortable awkward with about my choice, but I get that they have to believe I am missing out. I love most of their kids with all my heart, but love my peace of mind even more. I am glad they had them. I don't have kids and have never wanted kids. I had surgery to make sure of it as soon as I could, and I have never felt better about a decision in my life. My parents, however, are a different story. Bad mental health runs on both sides of the family, and my dad is currently falling apart because of his own mental health struggles but refuses to seek help. My mom is one step behind him and resents him even though she stays with him. Often I have heard my mom say the following about my dad's mom, who had poorly treated schizophrenia and struggled her whole life. She had no business having kids, so my mom feels that my dad had no business being born. Yet mom still had several kids with him. Don't be like my mom. If you marry someone who ends up being a different person and having a different family gene pool than what you were led to believe, please, pretty please, think twice about having kids with that person. I have struggled my whole life with depression and anxiety and didn't have a chance so far as genes on both sides of my family go. I work extremely hard at having a normal healthy life and sometimes I even succeed, but I sure wish I didn't have to live like that. TLDR. If you think maybe you shouldn't procreate with a certain person, you probably shouldn't. From the perspective of a kid who has a mom who regretted having kids. If you don't want kids, don't have them. Don't let anyone talk you into it. Don't cave because your partner wants kids, let them go find someone else. My mom told me when I was a kid that I would rather work 70 hours weeks than spend a moment home with you kids. I was hurt, but later on I understood that she hadn't meant to be rude or a terrible person. She was just being honest. Because of this and other things, I have an honest conversation up front with anyone I date. Kids are a very important discussion and waiting until you've spent months or years together to talk about it is a waste for everyone involved if it turns out you're not on the same page. It changed me. I'm not who I wanted to be. No one gets what they want. I don't because they need me. They don't because I can't give them everything. But I adore them completely. I don't regret having my one and only child, but I wasn't prepared for just how chauvinistic society is towards mothers and women in general. Mom is expected to do everything while dad gets a trophy for changing a diaper. When something goes wrong, it's always mother's fault and never the father's. When I went back to work after my 12-week maternity leave, everyone asked how I could stand to be away from my baby. No one asks new fathers this. Then, when our marriage fell apart as most marriages do, I was a horrible mother for eventually wanting to date again and for not putting my child first. My child is first and always will be, but I'm still an adult human who matters. I'm not only a mother. I recently read a Twitter thread written by a stay-at-home dad. His wife has a well-paid job with lots of responsibility. Yet, the kindergarten won't stop calling her about every tiny issue with the kid. No matter how often both say that he is the one doing the childcare. Childcare equals mom, set in stone. It's all the little things every day. Tired from a long day? Well, get ready to come home to some kids who want to argue about every freaking thing. What they loved chicken yesterday but today frick you for putting on their plate. Who is brushing their teeth first? You closed the door but they wanted to close it. You held the door but they wanted to hold it. Everything, literally everything will become an argument. You and your spouse may differ in one minor way about parenting and that will be a fight. I am so sick of arguing about everything every day. God forbid you have a kid with anxiety too. And when are they faking it and when is it real? When do you put your foot down and when do you caress and nurture? Then they get into school and there is a school shooting warning. And you have to act like the world we live in is okay. Tell them that life isn't so bad. They need to go to school. Then you get some jackbutt that's like, well, if we're my kid I'd slap him. What the frick? They have no control of their emotions, no control of their thoughts, and no control of their willpower. Being a parent sucks. Oh, and if they are sick, which parent will need to take off work to be with them? And when they get some random ailment, how will you pay to take care of them? Sorry, a ton on my mind lately. All of this. I absolutely don't regret having any of my 3 kids, but I wish I would have been more prepared for the endless stream of trick shots and questions while preparing dinner every night. Mom, watch this. That's awesome, sweetie. Mom, and this one, look, check it out. Cool. Oh yeah, Mom. But this one, Mom, check it out. You're not watching. Look. Dad, look what my Spider-Man toy can do. Looks at son moving Spider-Man's arms for the 612th time today. That's awesome, buddy. Shoot self. I always wonder about this during abortion debates. When the nice clean Christian lady says that people regret their abortions, I immediately wonder how many parents regret not having that abortion. When your child is sick and dying, when they get hurt and mortally wounded, when they suffer tragedies, congenital illness, a million mishaps. These are real concerns that should definitely be considered. I have 2 kids and it's been 30 years and I still worry about everything. And now grandbabies. Studies been done, more than 90% don't regret their abortion but found sense of relief. Semi on topic, but don't have a bunch of kids thinking the older ones will help raise the younger ones. That's not fair to the older kids. They didn't sign up to be a parent, you did. Stealing an older child's actual childhood by making them act the grown-up in your stead should be a crime. I wish I realized my ex-wife was a clinical psychopath before reproducing with her. Details please. How much it end up hate being a father. I love my kids, but I wish I never had them. They are annoying. I don't sleep. I can't enjoy anything without them being there. I miss my alone time. I miss being able to eat a meal without anyone bothering me. I genuinely can't stand my life right now because I have kids. I haven't been happy for a long while. My kids don't make me happy. Seeing them grow gives me no sense of joy or satisfaction. If you're rich, there's always the solution of boarding school. To prepare to add child to your marriage, set an alarm to go off at night every 25 minutes all night long for a month straight, and then see how fast you become monsters to each other. If you're all hunky-dory, continue that experiment for a year or 2 straight, with an alarm going off every hour followed by high-pitched screaming unless the alarm is attended to in the other room for at least 10-20 minutes of that blessed hour of sleep. If you are still a functioning human being and also still married, yeah, go ahead, have a kid. It is actual, horrible, awful torture for at least 2 years and I do not know why people have children. Don't do it. I don't regret having kids, but dang are they brutal on every aspect of your life. My 3-year-old is currently at the other end of the couch crying and saying how much he hates me. It's not just the kids either. Your spouse will suddenly accept things they did not before. We would see parents jamming iPods in front of their kids and we were just baffled. Like, really, lady, you're not even gonna try? We were also very against co-sleeping. Too risky. I have lost my voice in both of those things, as my wife now allows both to occur. It's very tough. Not me, but a close friend of mine from high school. Met a girl not long before I left for college. First relationship for both of them, and not long before them talking about getting married and stuff. The rest of our friend group didn't really like her, not just for the normal "you're stealing our friend" drama bulls, but it just didn't seem like the healthiest relationship for how serious it was getting. Some of us tried to warn him. He shrugged us off. Well, eventually she gets pregnant. She decides to keep it. It's triplets. I crap you not. So this kid is still a teenager, and he has 3 kids on the way. They did end up getting married, but he went into a sort of downward spiral. I don't think he ever said it out loud, but it's pretty clear he had his regrets, and maybe should have put the brakes on that relationship. Good news is they're no longer married, the kids and ex seem to be okay, she got remarried, and he's in a better place now. Not dead, like, mentally. I guess the moral of the story is don't stick your dong in crazy, especially if you're not even old enough to vote, and always use protection. Because honestly, I have my suspicions that she used some sort of fertility drug behind his back. Like triplets. Dang. This story just screams, I live in a small town. As a father of 2, I can only cringe and dread the idea of raising triplets. That crap has to be freaking exhausting. That with a little confidence and a lot of cardio, I wouldn't have had to settle for my ex. You don't have to be in any relationship you don't want to be in no matter what you look like. 1. Know that they're freaking expensive to care for and raise. Daycare costs more than college tuition yearly. Average is over $15,000 a year. If you don't have family near you that can help out, you are fricked. I can't afford another child and I do not have the mental capacity to handle another one. No thanks. 2. Frick your free time. You don't have that anymore. Time to clean? Nope. Time to take a crap or use the bathroom uninterrupted? Nope. Free time will ease up after a few years. 3. Your current life of relatively being stress-free and carefree is over. Good luck. 4. Kiss whatever is left of your private life goodbye. 5. For better or worse, kids will change you. Prepare for that. You know that feeling when you get done with work and you are heading home and you're finally going to put your feet up and relax. Some days that is what it will feel like when you leave for work in the morning. I don't regret any one of my kids. I regret having a child too young. I was 21. I got pregnant. We got married and are still as happy to this day. But she passed away at 3 months old and I was too young to actually get what happened. It's strange to explain, because obviously my heart is broken every day for that baby, but the funeral and everything, I couldn't comprehend what was happening. It jaded me a lot. We have 2 children now, 6 and almost 2, and I somehow appreciate them so much more because I'm scared of losing them. So not regret having her, just wish she could have been born when I was more mature so I could appreciate what she meant at the time. Hi, single guy with no plans of having children here. Every parent here, I want you all to know that you are all braver than me. I have no patience for children and the prospect of taking care of someone who is completely dependent on me scares me. All of you are braver than me. All of you have the patience that I lack. How difficult it was going to be trying to keep or have friends. Most of my friends from before kinda disappeared and now I struggle making new friends unless they have kids. I hate kids. I don't want to be around my own, let alone other people's. It's the worst. Thought my life sucked before kids, but now I know what true misery is. 0-6 Moss. Hard work. Not fun. 3/3 kids, same experience. 6 Moss, 6 years. Hard work. Lots of fun. 3/3 kids, same experience. 6 years to 15 years. Easy. Lots of fun. 3/3 kids, same experience. 15 years to 20 years. Hard, heartbreaking, depressing. Also sometimes fun. 2/3 kids. Easy. Fun. 1/3 kids. That's it so far. Youngest is 17. Oldest is 22. I appreciate the timeline breakdown here. Thanks for commenting. I will start this by saying I adore my daughter. She is the most amazing, wonderfully spirited, beautiful person I've ever known. I don't know if I regret having her, because she's changed me for the better and has made my heart feel love like I've never felt before. I was extremely on the fence about having children before I got pregnant. Once I found out, my husband and I decided we would keep the pregnancy. But anytime I talk to my married friends who are considering the possibility of having kids, I tell them unless they are absolutely sure that they want to be parents, don't have kids. I had crippling PPD and PPA after she was born. So much so that someone had to be in the house with me during waking hours at all times for about the first 6 weeks. I've never loved anyone as much as I love her, but I've also never felt such gut-wrenching fear and anxiety about the future, about her safety, about anything in general. You will lose your independence. your ability to truly relax, your stability, and while parenting is something wonderful and beautiful, if you're not sure you are up for it, don't do it. Also, absolutely don't do it if you feel like maybe it's just the next step in life. That's just not the type of world we live in anymore. Parents of grown children, what do you regret about the way you raised your child? I have one that my father told me. He always regretted how poor he was and how often he couldn't provide for us, and how he wished he could have done more. My parents were divorced when I was 2 and I saw him every other weekend, so he felt like he didn't have enough time to really bond with me. That was his take on it. I just remember sitting in the car Monday before school making our lunches on the dashboard, and I got to have those little bags of Cheetos, which was really awesome. My butthole mom sprang it on him that he'd have to take us to school Monday when he had no food in the house, so he had to buy some early Monday. He taught me how to cut up vegetables for soup with a little paring knife, and showed me how to cut around the bad parts and use all of the good parts. We got a lot of stuff from the food bank which was on the edge of spoiling. He taught me how to use basic carpentry tools and how to build a flower box and an aquarium stand. He was part of a gardening club as well as an aquarium club, so he would build stuff to sell to the other members. We compared notes after I grew up, and it really shocked him to realize that some of his perceived failings were some of my most cherished memories. I don't know what to say. It's both beautiful and sad at the same time. First they told me not to get him diagnosed because that would pigeonhole him as special needs. Then they reported me to CPS for neglecting to have him diagnosed. Once diagnosed, I tried to advocate for him, give him a small quiet dark place to regroup in, and I was reported the CPS for locking my disabled child in a closet. Dude, he hollowed out the linen closer himself and went there himself when upset. I was just paying attention. He wouldn't eat his lunches. They said to let him make his own lunches. Then reported me for sending him with nothing but junk. They ruined his school experience by forcing him into all these social interactions that meant nothing to him. They were trying to play fetch with a cat, and it wasn't until he was in high school that I looked up the law and got him the frick away from the idiots. Meanwhile, I have a 3-inch thick CPS file and will never be able to foster. That hurts me just reading it. I wish I'd got down on the floor and played Lego etc with them more when they were under 7. It really builds a bond. Just simple fun time together, rather than me supervising my 2 boys playing together with one eye on my phone or laptop. My parents never played with me. They worked a lot and also it was not a thing for parents to do back then. I don't think it affected the way I relate to them, if it is of any consolidation. I have 4 kids quite spread out in age. I regret being too tough on my oldest. You learn to chill out a bit and that everything isn't so critical. I wish I'd spend more time with them versus working crazy hours. I used to yell and scold my daughter, often. Conversations with my daughter were usually me scold her because of something she did wrong. Every morning started off with me scolding her. She's grown now and I think our relationship was damaged by my constant negativity around her. The thing that saddens me most about my relationship with my mother is I didn't expect her to be perfect, and she knows she wasn't, but she's completely incapable of owning that in front of her children. It makes it hard to be open with her about anything when she's so defensive. Father of 2 teenagers, I decided long ago that everyone fricks their kid up in some way. It can't be avoided, and it's rarely the big decisions that do it. It will end up being that small comment you made on some idle Tuesday, one you don't remember but sticks with them the rest of their life. But you can decide how they won't be fricked up. My kids won't be fricked up cause I didn't tell them I love them enough. They won't be fricked up cause I didn't go to their baseball games or plays. They won't be fricked up cause I didn't believe in them. I can choose how they won't be fricked up. The rest, once they become an adult, that's for their therapist to figure out. My very first gilded comment. Thanks, kind stranger. Dang straight. Once, when I said I felt pretty, which I didn't very often, my mother said, but you're not. She denies it. I know she loves me, but goddang I am never going to forget that. I guess the important thing for you to take from that is that I agree. 2-month-old daughter beside me, here to take notes. 3-month-old son at home. I'm here for the same reason. I never gave my son the chance to prove himself. I was very much conscious about him, and today is the day he is away from me. Today is the day he can't face the world like others do, because I never let him out to face the world. As a child of a workaholic father who was never there and an alcoholic mother, do not leave your child to look after a parent who is passed out drunk on the sofa. Also spend any spare time with our children instead of ignoring them. I had to fend for myself a lot until I was 14. My mum has since got sober, apologized for what she did, and our relationship is repaired, but the one with my dad is still very strained and fractured. I just want to contribute this, as the child of an abusive mother who walked out when I was 13, which resulted me being in the care system. It is good that you guys contributing here can admit to wishing having done things differently, and I have respect for that. When I was 16, I went back to live with my mum for a short time as my foster parent was ill. She never apologized for anything, continued to be the most manipulative person I have ever met, and painted herself as the victim constantly. I hear she is currently ill with cancer, and whilst her side of the family pushed aside their views of her as a nasty, irresponsible waste of space to take care of her, they have since took to being dongs to me on social media for not taking care of her. They are just as selfish as each other really, and they are probably resentful that they have to take care of her. From what I have heard, she is still playing the victim of my children won't speak to me. Whatever did I do wrong? They are terrible people. Some people are deluded beyond repair. I guess what I am trying to say is, I have respect for you guys here for coming forward and saying how you wish you had done things differently. Parent here. My daughter is 13. Look, it's not like they come out with instructions. I regret a lot of things I've done. I've yelled when I shouldn't have, been exhausted and taken it out on her, not being supportive of something she loves. Good lord, I wish I could have a really sometimes. I'm not perfect, but one thing, just this one thing, every day I tell her, I love you, no matter what. It's our saying, hers and mine. And a few days ago, when I effed up, I apologized and of course, felt like the crappiest mother in the world. When she hugged me, she said, I love you, no matter what, and you know, it's the truest, most unconditional love I've ever felt. I hope she feels that from me too. I have to say, as a daughter of a single mother for a long time, her sharing her frustrations and sometimes taking it out on me was part of life. It teaches us kids that parents, like everyone else, do not have infinite patience for our crap. I honestly think it's a great lesson to learn. A little regret of mine. I raised 3 sons with my ex-husband. While the ex and I did argue, it was when they weren't home, or quietly bitching behind closed doors. We provided them a huge home, yard, activities. Each kid had his own TV, VCR, PlayStation, Sega, Nintendo and phones. Mind you, not super high-end luxury, but dang, each kid had it made. When my youngest was 10, the marriage fell apart. I was hoping to hold it together till he graduated, but that pain in the buttocks made it too hard for me to cope, so I bailed out, moved on. We divorced, not bitterly. My 3 sons all came to me months afterward to comment on my happiness and attitude, and they all asked the same question. Mom, you were obviously so unhappy with X. Why did you stay together so long? I did it for them. I put up with X's horseshit so that my kids could have the same bedrooms, school, friends and life. I regret not being able to do it all by myself. I would have left earlier if I could. Everyone is all grown up, moved on and happy. I'm a grandma now. Usually kids can tell if their parents are only together for them. Most of them aren't very happy about it. Grown child, turn off the goddamn TV. Seriously, my mom has wasted so much time. From when she gets home from work to when she goes to bed, watching TV. Now I spend most of my time in my room on my computer or with my friends. Dad's an out of work workaholic trying to start his own business. I'm a manic depressive college student. Manic depressive college student. Guess who that is, brain? I was very strict with my oldest son. His mother was a drunk and there was no way our household would have managed without a pretty solid schedule and routine. He was babysitting his little brother and sister at 10 years old. He was making dinner most nights by that time. I depended on him to help out quite a bit while he was much too young for that kind of responsibility. He was in his late teens when I finally managed to get his mother sober. So, Because of that, we never had a very good relationship and were never very close. He blamed me for a lot of things that were mostly his mother's fault, and she was manipulative and hateful when it suited her. There is no way to repair that damage. It really bothers me because I still cannot think of any other way I could have managed to keep the family off the streets. His diet. I was a single mom going through college when he was a toddler. Our meals consisted of a pot of spaghetti to get us through the week. I'm not sure why I didn't know any better to introduce fresh fruits and veggies at the time. It wasn't until I married someone who loved to cook for my son to even try new things. He's a very healthy eater now, but I still regret not feeding him healthier foods in his childhood. It's easy to have regrets. Parenting is continually riddled with self-doubt. My only big thing is that I wish I had remained single instead of remarrying. I thought my daughters needed a good dad. What they got was a distracted mom and instability. I had underestimated my ability to raise them well on my own. One strong mama is better than turmoil under the roof. It's not like that for everyone, of course, just my experience. Even with that, they learn and grow and make their own mistakes. And mama does too. As the son of a single mother, and as someone who was exposed to volatile adult relationships at a young age, you're very much correct in your assessment. However, as long as your daughters knew you loved them and they trusted you, then it's not a huge deal. Not the mother, but the child. My mother was always dieting. I wound up being a fat kid, but would try to diet as well. I always gained it back, until I finally figured it out in my 20s. Mum would say offhanded mean things to me like, "Those pants make your legs look like stuffed sausages." I'll never forget that. My dad worked a very stressful job, managing a data center. He was pretty strict and often angry. We never got close until he retired, left that job behind forever, and could finally have time to relax and be happy. We're much closer now. Mom is, Mom. At least she can't comment on my weight, now. This. My mum has always had a strange relationship with food and always asked if I've been to the gym or not. She even called me a pig once. Was always a chubby kid and I overeat when I get stressed. Currently 21 now, trying to sort out my weight. Got divorced. It definitely affected them. So many things, souls have been different. Not a parent, but I have a very superficial relationship with my dad. I just can't hold a conversation with him. I'm almost 30, the oldest of his 6 children, and he has no idea who I am. He left for work before I got up for school and returned home after I was in bed. Never really saw him during the week until I was 13 and he was made redundant from his job and he started his own business from home. Even then he was grumpy and taciturn. Time spent together was doing things he liked in a group with my other sisters. If I wasn't good at the activity he chose, hunting, fishing etc., he was really critical. I never had alone time with him, and any time spent with him was full of criticism and being forced to do things I neither liked nor was good at. Give your time. Connect with your kid. My mum did, and still does. I love her more than my dad. I often wonder about when my mom started resenting me. As I've gotten older, I realize that every time I have shared good news about my life, raise at work, going on a trip, etc., it's always met with a "well, that must be nice" or a "glad you get to go do that." I never want to tell her anything anymore because I feel like she doesn't like it when my life is going well. I tried to teach my kids to eat right, but I guess I didn't try hard enough. They're 15 and 12 and eat nothing but processed junk. I won't buy the stuff, but unfortunately my wife does. I think a lot of people eat poorly in their teens and early 20s. Eventually a lot of us have more refined tastes and start to eat healthier. All hope is not lost, but teaching them some basic cooking skills will speed the process along. I still love pizza rolls, though. I know that my parents regret listening to my teachers too much. I once met a guy while at an awesome outdoor bar in Hong Kong that ended up with both of us in tears. He told me of an early first marriage that produced a son that he was incredibly hard on. After he was divorced and then sent to Iraq and came back to remarry and have a couple of daughters with the new wife, did he realize that he treated his son so badly? When I talked with him, he knew he treated his son terribly but didn't know how to fix it. I remember telling him that a phone call could accomplish a lot. He said through tears that his son won't answer his phone anymore. Thank you to all who have shared their experiences. Being a parent is not easy. I question myself daily on how I can provide my 19-month-old boy with the correct upbringing and life skills so that he can live a happy and fulfilling life. It's stressful. At the same time as raising a child or children, you also have to adult in life. If this means you had to work crazy hours or you snapped at your child due to frustration, everything you did from the day they were born was for them. But thank you for the insight on your personal experiences. It's been a lovely read for me. I would have said yes more often. I was always saying no, you can't have that, do this, go there, watch TV, play video games. I would have gone more places with them. It just seemed so overwhelming at the time. I would have given them more chores, would not have obsessed about their reading. For God's sake, some kids are just not readers. I would have had more laughs with them. My mom regrets not leaving my dad and staying with him for 7 years. They lived in separate bedrooms while barely speaking to each other. My brothers and I may have lost my dad if she had moved out, but we knew they were both miserable. She left him 18 months ago and is much happier but is still self-conscious about her decisions. My daughter is only 2, but something my mom passed down me is negative body image. My mom was, still kind of is, a dieting exercise freak. She spent her teenage years in the 80s, which was a time of bad dieting practices. Actually, she was bulimic in my early childhood. I caught her making herself throw up a couple times. My mother is a very beautiful woman, but I recall a lot of times she would shame her body out loud in front of the mirror. When I became a teenager, I was in pretty good shape but was always constantly pointing my flaws out and was ashamed of my body and didn't feel good about myself. Now 6 years later, with a baby and 90 pounds heavier, I look back at all those pictures from high school and wonder why the heck I thought I was ugly or fat. It has taken me years to accept my body has changed, to understand that a number on a scale does not define beauty. Also that eating and thinking healthy is the best I can do for myself and my daughter. I don't ever want her to feel less than beautiful. It comes to show you that your children are always watching you. My mother has told me for years that she feels guilty for how she treated me sometimes. Single mom with anger issues and stress of never having enough money. I told her yes, there were some rough times both physically and emotionally, but I never felt unloved. She always cries when I tell her I forgive her. She never made me feel unwanted or a burden. She let me be a kid, but I also learned to make adult decisions and be responsible. She got a better job working nights at a hospital, so I was home alone all night from 4th grade until 7th grade. Got myself up and dressed for school. Sometimes I would see her for about 20-30 minutes in morning before I caught bus. I remind her about the times she would call me from work to see if I had anything major going on at school. If I didn't, she would let me skip school and we would go to movies or shopping or whatever. I remind her often that I have no regrets about my childhood. I'm 45 and we are still best friends. That I raised them in separate households. Their mom and I divorced when they were pretty young. I know as much as anybody that an intact household doesn't necessarily guarantee productive offspring, especially if the home environment is abusive or emotionally toxic. My ex and I weren't getting along, but our discord was hardly abusive and not very toxic. But I have to say, in looking back, maybe if my ex and I had endured our comparatively minor differences a little longer, maybe, just maybe, we could have made our kids' maturing experience a little better. And it's not that my kids didn't turn out great. They did. They both graduated college with hard science degrees, and somehow both managed to find jobs in the tech industry in this crappy economy. It's just that there were a lot of times I wished I could have been there for them more often than one weeknight a week and alternate weekends with them. I really do feel that I could have added even more to their positive development. I can't prove this, of course. It's just something that has always nagged at the back of my head. How much better off would my kids have been if my ex and I could have just choked back our respective immaturities a little bit longer? Sometimes, I actually catch myself thinking that maybe we should have held off our differences and divorced shortly after the kids left the house like they used to in the old days. I don't lose much sleep over it, though. It's just when you're a parent, you're always trying to think of how you can do better. But I don't have a lot of guilt. Regret, maybe, but not guilt. Since my kids were lucky enough to turn out great, This is all mostly just a thought experiment these days. It kept me up some nights when they were younger, though. I couldn't even imagine my kids only seeing dad every other weekend. He's so good with them. He is everything I'm not. Even when we seriously talk about splitting, we have highs and lows. I can't imagine how we could do it. We'd have to live in a duplex or something. Lol. Not a parent, but my dad taught me how to light my hand on fire with rubbing alcohol when I was 10. This comes in handy when you want to prove to the other kids you're not a wuss. Not sure if it counts since it's a perspective from a child, but one day our family dog was taken away for a BS reason. I said to my mother, "I'm crying on the inside," and she told me shut up and made fun of me. I was very young, around 9. I never opened up to my mother again emotionally. Also, just wanted to add that I have a very good relationship with her, but I never share anything personal with her anymore. I've never understood why it's expected to be open with one's parents. Going through this thread hoping to see someone who sounds like my mom say something like, "Gee, I really wish I'd taken an interest in at least one of his hobbies so I could relate to something about him as an adult. My mom really has no interest in me as a person, and it's something that bothers the frick out of me every day. I don't know how it doesn't bother her. That she was an only child. That my relationship with my mom was so poor the whole time, and has gotten worse. That I didn't have a sister or a female cousin living close who could be a role model for her. That I took until they were teenagers for me to realize how close she and her then male friend, later boyfriend now husband really were, and how smart he really is. Never enough time for great vacations. I have a great relationship with my adult daughter. My biggest regret is that we didn't travel much when she was younger. Financial pressures were pretty heavy back then. I wish I'd been more patient, less uptight and less aggressive. It was unnecessary and none of us enjoyed the very young years until I realized how unhappy we all were and changed things. Luckily my boys don't recall too much and they understand how tough things were for me back then. They've grown into 2 fantastic men who helped me raise my youngest, but it's because of the nurture and not the discipline that things worked out okay. My mom said that she wished she would have shown more patience toward me when I was learning how to do things. She gets frustrated easily, and especially doing things like cooking. It was just far easier and faster for her to do it than to let me figure it out. Driving was another nightmare. To this day I cannot drive with her in the car. It's too stressful. She nitpicks every little thing and it makes me have a panic attack. No wonder I'm so self-critical and nervous all the time. I don't know how to relax. You have been visited by the healthy spirit of exercise. Boy, you will burn all calories today. If you comment "Blessed be the health hound," like and subscribe, you magnificent person.